Hello, my name is Alex Weiser. I'm the Director of Public Programs of the YIVO Institute for Jewish Research. Thank you so much for joining us here on our Facebook Live, on our Facebook page. As many of you know, we've been doing these videos on Facebook pretty much every day. We've been featuring check-ins with YIVO staff, mini lectures from scholars, conversations with different people in our community, working on projects that are engaged with YIVO in some way. And it's been a really fun and interesting way for us to stay connected with our community. We're really pleased to have Zisl Slepovitch today talking about a concert that we're going to actually be doing on Monday evening in collaboration with him and the Yale Fortunoff video archive. So Zisl is going to join me momentarily and tell you a little bit about this project. We're really excited to be hosting this concert on Zoom. We'll also be live streaming it via Facebook. So if you haven't yet, make sure to go over to yivo.org and register for the concert so you can get that Zoom link so you can join us.
Hi, Alex. Yes, I'm here. There's no technical
Okay, great.
glitches. I'm here. Hello, everybody. It's still 1 to noon, so
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sharing this video with our audience on the social media. So it's posted on Twitter and Facebook. Yeah, thank
Terrific. Okay, so Zisel, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
you very much.
So can you tell us a little bit about this album?
Well, where is my homeland? Where is our homeland? Songs from Testimonies, Volume One. Is a pilot album which summarizes the initial stage of my work with the Fortunoff Video Archive for Holocaust Testimonies at Yale University that has been happening for almost 2 years now. And Fortunoff Video Archive is a extremely rich repository of video testimonies given by Holocaust survivors, mainly in the 1980s and 90s. There are over 4,400 testimonies. It's a real treasure trove for everybody, but also, of course, specifically for historians, for musicologists, for Holocaust studies specialists, and just anyone really. So it so happened that almost 2 years ago, my friend and colleague Annette Ezekiel Cogan, who leads the klezmer punk band Golem, connected me to Stephen Nairn, who's a director of the Fortunoff Video Archive, and they were basically searching for a specialist who could help them present two of the songs from one of the survivors' testimony. Lubov K. From Zvenigorodka in Ukraine. She was a survivor of a slave labor camp there, and then doctoral candidate, now Dr. Sarah Garibova, did in-depth research into that testimony. So together with my fellow musician bandmate Joshua Camp, we traveled to Yale University to a conference they were holding, and we presented an arrangement of two songs from Lyubov's testimony. This is how it started, and the both the archive staff, Stephen and everybody else, and the conference attendees were really inspired by that material. And the idea of not letting this rich material dusting on shelves, but rather be reconnected to the world, got them really inspired to ask me to go further. And so I looked at Lubov's testimony. There were two other pieces that she presented, and those were not musical numbers. Those were two pieces of poetry. So, and they were so amazing. They spoke volumes about her life in this slave labor camp, that I composed music to that, in very much in the spirit of of the 1930s, Soviet Union, Ukraine, and so we present and we recorded 4 of those pieces. I invited my dear friend and colleague, a wonderful Yiddish and actually multilingual singer, Sasha Luria, originally from Riga, Latvia. That's where we met in my past life, so to speak. I originally come from Minsk, Belarus, and now she lives in Berlin, and we collaborated on that. And Sasha really created beautiful and multifaceted images of that really conveyed truthfully and um, genuinely conveyed, the experience that Lubov shared with us in her testimony. And then we went further on, and I started combing through those interviews and basically finding songs and poetry and curating them. I would obviously not record something super popular like Tumbalalaika, but actually there are not so many of those super popular overdone songs. A lot of those songs that I was finding, and they were from all over Europe, or Central and Eastern Europe, but not only, also from France, they were composed on the spot, or they were recomposed, they were um, recompositions, retextings of the earlier composed songs and poetry. One of them was, which we just recorded but haven't released for volume 2 earlier this year, was Aleph Lutzky's poem Waltz, the Waltz, Eins, zwei, drei, narrated by a woman who remembers herself dancing to her teacher singing or narrating this poem in a concentration, not in a ghetto in Poland. And so she remembered only the poem. Again, I had to compose music to that. So it's very rewarding and creative work. Honestly, I could not see myself more fit to do this work because I had done exactly this kind of work in the past as an ethnomusicologist. Coming from Minsk, I wrote I did my research in Minsk at the Belarusian State Academy of Music, together with my professor and later research partner, the late Dr. Nina Stepanskaya. And we conducted dozens, upon that maybe a few hundred interviews, mainly in Belarus, some in Lithuania, and working with those materials, those interviews was pretty much the same thing as working with the Fortunoff Video Archives interviews. And of course, almost all of our interviewees were Holocaust survivors. So inevitably, when we were asking people to share their musical memories from their childhood, they would at some point run into their World War II experiences, either as ghetto or concentration camp inmates, or as soldiers in the Red Soviet Army or Polish Army, or whatever, in whatever capacity they survived World War II. So it was a very familiar experience for me to do this work. So I just want to share to show you share the screen of the Fortunoff Video Archive website, so as a little illustration. Just 1 second here. Just check again. Okay, I think this is it. Where is our Homeland? Yes. So you can see the dedicated web page on the Yale website, the Fortunoff Video Archive website. It has resources and audio productions. Actually, they produced beautiful LPs. You see the pre-press LP copy here, and the LPs themselves and the CDs were beautiful, and so the background that you see were beautifully illustrated, designed by Yulia Ruditskaya, um, my Belarusian expat, wonderful artist who lives here in New York as well. I don't know if you can see. I'll stop sharing screen, and so this is the same graphic. I know it's a little hard because of the virtual background kind of cancels. Okay, now we can see. Um, so this is it. Um, okay, and so it was no. We were taking step by step together with Stephen Nairon and with the ensemble, the wonderful musician. I was fortunate, and I mean, I am fortunate to be collaborating with Dmitry Ishenko on the bass and Joshua Kemp, who I already mentioned was the original um, collaborator on this, and Sasha Lurie and Craig Udelman, my former bandmate in Litvakov's band, who now lives in Berlin, who joined us later for the recording. And we were also very fortunate to have Daniel Kahn, singer-songwriter and actor, and Yeva Lobsker, artist and translator, to translate those texts into English. And as I'm saying texts, I should also mention that Fortunoff Video Archive holds testimonies in multiple languages. So fortunately, while I know some of them, it's kind of easy for me to work with Russian, Ukrainian, Polish, German, but then I really don't know Hungarian, and my knowledge of Czech is really limited. So we're using help of, and even Yiddish, which I do know, sometimes it has a lot of dialectisms or even argot, concentration camp argot, a song that we recorded for volume 2. It's called Stubun Elsto. It's a song from, if I remember it correctly, it's either from Auschwitz or Treblinka, and it comes from the German Stuben Älteste. It's a military term. The senior officer in the barrack, but that referred to capo, basically, to a traitor collaborationist Jew in a barrack, in a cell in a concentration camp, who was basically spying on his fellow inmates. So that's a song that we recorded, and we will present that song on Monday at the concert at 7 p.m. EST at YIVO. So you have to really understand. So we were really lucky to have Samuel Norwich help us. Samuel was born in a DP camp, and he helped us understand some of that lingo, which was just impossible. With all my knowledge of Yiddish and Polish, just some words were very specific for the camps that were carried over from concentration camps to DP camps in some way. So yeah, it's a long and vast journey and a very challenging work, but also very rewarding one.
So just to take a little step back for a second, one of the things I find so fascinating about this archive and about this project is that when people were sharing their stories of their experiences during the Holocaust, they felt that singing songs or sharing poems was an important thing to communicate their experience. And I know that you have one that you could show us, and maybe you could speak a little bit about that. What role do these songs have for the people that are singing them to us through the archives?
Absolutely. I will share a couple short original recordings from Testimonies, but before I do, I should actually mention, it's a very important point, thank you for pointing that out, that singing and composing songs in such dire straits, such terrible conditions, really help people survive on a mental level. I heard different kinds of responses, different kinds of feedbacks, different kinds of feedback. And a lot of people are actually downplaying the importance of music that supported people, that held them alive, while they would or would not survive physically due to other reasons in the camp. How lucky they were, etc. But their mental survival, to a great extent, depended on how they could support themselves, and the music and songs, that's collective singing, half voice, so that the German guards or Ukrainian guards, whoever were their oppressors, would not hear that. It's really a big deal, and we should acknowledge and realize that. So I'm going to share a couple of these testimonies. Screen. Okay. Okay.
She is singing like she was standing by the ocean to the waves,
Jack
instead of a
and from
letter.
Poland.
She gave the
Get
song like that. Treib die Falles tiefer Teich, treib sei über Bergen zu, mein Geliebten von der Weiten, grüß ich tausende Mut. She repeated twice. Die Erzähle im tiefer Teich von meinem bitteren Schicksal, als mein Leben ist wie ein Triebetuch, ohne Sinn und Strahl. Those two, I remember.
And another testimony from Lubov K. From Zvenigorodka in Ukraine. So that was the original testimony that we started with. And this is a song that she or her fellow inmates composed in German, with a sort of a bad Yiddishized German. Small little.
In den kleinen Dorf in Smilchensee wohnen Juden in den Lager unglücklich, und die Frauen weinen ohne einen Grund. Wo ist unsere Heimat, wann seien wir zu Haus? In der Stall wie Schweinen leben wir, und wie Hunde hungrig seien wir. Das Kind hat keine Mutter, die Mutter hat kein Kind. Wo ist unsere Heimat, wann seien wir zu Haus? Juden, leid ist uns, was von dem wusst kein Mann. Von die Tränen unsere keinen Flüssen sein, von dem Blut von unseren kein sein an Okean. Von die Tränen unsere keinen Flüssen sein, von dem Blut von unseren kein sein an Okean.
Yeah, so these are just two short excerpts that represent the variety, the scope. And finally, I wanted to share one track that did not end up on physical carriers on the LP and CD. And that was my original music to the actual testimony narrated by the survivor. She's quite a remarkable personality, Inge Auerbacher. She's, thanks God, she's alive and very active as a Holocaust educator. And even active on Facebook. And she was an inmate as a child. She was born in Switzerland, and as a child she ended up with her parents in Theresienstadt, in Terezin concentration camp, and they had this illegal English classes there. And so she tells her story. This is a short, just audio. So let me share screen.
We did not really have school. They were undercover classes, and I have a little book from that time. And I remember one day there were 3 SS men who came in. One was Heindel, and one probably was Ram, who was the camp commandant. And the third one, I am pretty sure, was Eichmann. And I remember I had this little book, and I hid it under the table. And the strange thing was that I had a funny emotion at that time. I was biting my tongue that I wouldn't laugh. It's the strangest thing. But out of fear, I wanted to laugh. It's a strange situation. And I said, oh my God, I just hope when they come in, I won't laugh. And I was biting my tongue constantly that I should not act up and I should look down, because we were not supposed to look in the face of an SS man. Stare on the, down, don't make any eye contact. Now here was the little book that I had. It was written in pencil, and it says here, Dresdenstadt 1944. I had an English class, and I learned a poem which goes like this. I wish I were a little bird up in the bright blue sky that sings and flies just where he will, and no one asks him why. And to me, that has sort of become my motto. Freedom is something fantastic, and we take it for granted many times.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
So one of the things I think is really interesting about this is that you have the meaning of the original text and the original testimony, and then it takes on an additional new meaning, like in this example you played for us, where you composed music in counterpoint with what she is saying, or even in the other examples where you take a song that someone sang and you create a new arrangement and you kind of flesh it out. So I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what you think these songs mean, not just in their original role of telling somebody's story, but today in your reimagination of them.
Well, they obviously create a new meaning in the very context we are performing the songs for. This is basically my stance in general in regard to authenticity. Even we, just one extraneous example. When they perform early music today on the period Baroque or Renaissance instruments, it's still very modern music because it's performed by modern musicians for modern audiences who have a modern sense of time. So this holds true also for these testimonies. These songs, these pieces tell information that is relevant for our time, and they come with a body of context, with a baggage of context that each of us brings. So it's hard for me to tell. It's impossible for me to tell what exactly each song evokes in each person who hears it. The great philosopher and Yuri Lotman said that artistic text carries its own information for each individual reader, and this is very true for these songs. And let me also mention this. A lot of those songs were composed even 40, 50 years before they were reapproached and reworked in the ghettos and concentration camps. A lot of them were salon songs or songs that were brought by touring groups from South America, Latin America to Germany and Poland in the 1910s and 20s and 30s, and they continued their travels. One of the songs to which one of the survivors was caroling for money in Warsaw, in the occupied Warsaw, was a war version. Was Pociągu jest tłok. It's crowded on the train. Basically telling us how people were smuggling food to sell it in Warsaw to make some money, and And this song basically is a Cielito Mio, is a popular Spanish and then Mexican song that continued its travel. And in the Polish resistance, interestingly, even in the 1980s, during the Jaruzelski's reaction and the Solidarność struggle for freedom and democracy in Poland, this song was repurposed again and again. So it's really fascinating. I start digging into the history of those songs, what journey they make, and what meaning they acquire at each given period. Again, working with archival materials, collections, other than this, clearly to me, clearly places this collection, the Fortunoff archive collection, into the much larger body of other collections, which are now called just ethnographic collections of Jewish or Eastern European or otherwise folklore or lore. Um, and it is really valuable to people who not only specialists in Holocaust studies or even Jewish studies or Jewish music studies, but say Polish studies, because some of those songs, I really did my research preparing liner notes for each of those songs, and I could not find those particular lyrics that the survivors sang for some of the songs. I did find others, but not those sets of lyrics. So they bring new information, they shed new light on some pages of Polish history or Soviet history or German history. One of the songs that we perform is German Zionist songs that was written allegedly by Akiva Levinsky, a prominent Zionist leader in Berlin in the probably late 20s, early 30s, and then it was sung when Akiva Levinsky repatriated to Jewish Palestine, British-mandated Palestine, and then returned during World War II, returned to Germany to save his fellow Jews. And it's amazing history how those songs, and you imagine a Zionist song in German, that to a modern ear that sounds wild, and you see this survivor giving an interview in Hebrew with some slight European accent, which is quite amazing to hear, and then going swiftly to German, with a perfect German accent, going back to Hebrew. This is something rare. This is something unique that you experience while you're going through these interviews. It's a unique experience that should be valuable. They should be used in the educational process, definitely. They're emotionally very engaging, but the songs are too.
It's an incredible multi-tiered, multi-layered history that these songs have, the journey that these songs have been on. And Zisl, thank you so much for writing the next chapter of that journey and for sharing all of this amazing material with us. And on that note, maybe you could tell us just a little bit about what we're going to hear on Monday evening, because it's going to be a performance happening Monday night, but of course, we're all remote. So what exactly are we going to hear Monday?
Well, we're going to hear the introduction by Dr. Sarah Garibova, who has done the original research, as I said, into the in-depth research into Lubov's testimony. And then we're going to perform the pre-recorded pieces with the Zisl Slepovitch Ensemble and Sasha Luria, because obviously due to technical reasons, due to latency on the internet, it's impossible to perform live, at least at this point in the technology development. So we are working hard to create those recordings. And just to mention, Sasha Luria and Craig Udelman are currently stuck in Scotland and Great Britain in the house of Michael Alpert, who will also appear in the one live performance. So they take advantage of being together, and of course you can perform live while you're in the same room. And so we will hear very diverse examples from this collection that I have already recorded and produced. Most of them will be from Volume 1, which you can also hear on the Fortunoff website and on Bandcamp. You can, by the way, you can stream and download and buy a CD or LP. I'm going to show you. Okay.
We also included the link in the description of this video, so if you're looking for it, you'll find it there.
Share. Okay, so let me just share. This is how it looks. This is the Bandcamp page. So we're going to hear some of these and some of the songs from Volume 2, which is not yet released. And actually, that's Stuben Elsto song, which reminds of a few other well-known Yiddish songs, even Yiddish theater songs from the 1910s. So that's going to be really interesting. Yes, back here. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, if you want to join us, I encourage you all, go to yivo.org and RSVP for this event so that you can get the Zoom link. That'll be the place that you can hear the best and most hopefully technologically glitch-free sound. But we'll also try to be sharing this on Facebook and or YouTube as well. And so please join us Monday evening. Zisl, thank you so much for coming to speak about this today, and we're really looking forward to it.
Thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.